Commander Zethkara stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the scanner readings. The numbers made no sense. His 4 eyes blinked in confusion as he checked the data again. According to every instrument on his ship, the dead system, ahead was very much alive. "This cannot be right," he said to his second-in-command. His voice carried the authority that came from 300 years of service to the hegemony. "Run the scans again." Lieutenant Vexahol's tentacles moved quickly over the control panel. The young officer had only recently joined the fleet, but his skills were sharp. "Sir, I have run the scans 5 times. The readings are correct. There are massive energy signatures throughout the system." Zethkara's scales shifted from blue to dark purple, a sign of deep concern among his people. The Veltar had ruled the galaxy for longer than most species could remember. They were proud, ancient, and very careful. They did not make mistakes about dead systems. "Show me the historical records," he ordered, the main display filled with old data files. The text was written in the formal language of the Hegemony archives. Zethkara read through it quickly. System designation: Soul, species, human, status, eliminated during the Great Cleansing, approximately 500,000 standard years ago. Threat level: potentially disruptive. Final disposition: complete sterilization authorized. "The records are clear," Vexahol said quietly. "The system was cleansed. Nothing should be alive here." Zethkara felt a chill run through his body. The Great Cleansing had been necessary, or so the Council had decided long ago. Hundreds of young species had been eliminated to maintain galactic order. It was brutal, but the alternative was chaos, or so they had been taught. "Take us closer," commanded. "But keep the fleet at maximum alert. Something is very wrong here." The Hegemony investigation fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and 40 smaller ships. It was more than enough firepower to handle any normal threat. As they moved deeper into the Sol system, the energy readings grew stronger. "Commander," called out the sensor officer, "I am detecting artificial structures, massive ones." The main screen shifted to show visual data. Zethkara's 4 eyes widened in shock. Enormous ring structures circled every planet in the system. Metal cables stretched from the surfaces up into space like giant spider webs. The third planet from the star was covered in lights that could be seen even from their current distance. "By the ancient codes," whispered Vexahol. They built a ring-world civilization. Zethkara had seen ring-worlds before. They were the mark of a Type 2 civilization, one that could harness the full energy of its star. Building such structures required technology, resources, and time, lots of time. How long would it take to build all of this? He asked the science officer. "Sir, based on the scale of construction, I would estimate several 100,000 years minimum, possibly longer." The implications hit Zethkara like a physical blow. If the humans had been building for hundreds of thousands of years, that meant they had survived the Great Cleansing. Not only survived, but thrived in complete isolation. "Send a communication on all frequencies," he ordered. "Standard greeting protocols." The communications officer worked for several minutes. "Sir, I am broadcasting on every known frequency. No response. Try the old human languages from our archives." "Still no response, sir?" But ... The officer paused, looking confused. "Sir, I am detecting communication signals throughout the system. They are using frequencies and encoding methods I do not recognize. It is almost like they are talking to each other but choosing to ignore us." Zethkara felt his stomach turn cold. A civilization that could build ring worlds but chose not to respond to outside contact was either very confident or very dangerous. Possibly both. "Take us to the outer edge of the system," he commanded. "I want detailed scans of everything." As the fleet moved through the system, more impossible sights appeared on their screens. Asteroid mining operations on a scale that defied belief, orbital habitats that could house billions of beings, solar collection arrays that gathered energy directly from the star, but the most disturbing discovery came when they reached the outer planets. "Commander," the sensor officer called out, his voice tight with fear, "you need to see this." The main Screen showed the space behind the largest planet in the system. Hidden in its shadow were structures that made Zethkara's blood freeze. Shipyards, massive construction facilities, that stretched for thousands of kilometers, and they were not empty. Are those ... Vexahol started to ask. Warships, Zethkara finished. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. The vessels were unlike anything in the hegemony databases. They were sleek, dark, and enormous. Even from a distance, they radiated an aura of deadly purpose. These were not exploration ships or cargo haulers. These were weapons of war. Sir, the communications officer said suddenly, I am receiving a signal. It is coming from the third planet. Put it through. The main screen flickered and showed a human face. Zethkara had never seen a living human before, but the archives contained images of the species. This one looked similar to the old records, but there were differences. The eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost artificial. The face showed no emotion at all. I am Director Elena Vasquez of the Terran Collective, the human said. Her voice was calm and measured. We have been watching your fleet since you entered our system. We know who you are. We know why you are here. Zethkara found his voice. I am Commander Zethkara of the Hegemony 4th Fleet. We are here on a routine investigation. Our records indicate this system was uninhabited. The human's expression did not change. Your records are incomplete. This system has been inhabited continuously for over 500,000 years. We are the descendants of those you tried to destroy. The words hit the bridge crew like a bomb. Tried to destroy. The humans knew about the Great Cleansing. They remembered. The Great Cleansing was a necessary action to maintain galactic order, Zethkara said, falling back on the official explanation he had been taught. Elena Vasquez tilted her head slightly. Necessary. Yes, that is what you called the murder of 8 billion people, the destruction of our cities, the burning of our children. Her voice remained perfectly calm, which somehow made her words more terrifying. That was long ago, Zethkara stammered. Ancient history. Not to us, Elena replied. We remember everything, every name, every face, every death. We have spent 500,000 years making sure we would never forget. The communication ended abruptly. The main screen returned to showing the space around them, but something had changed. Zethkara's instruments began picking up new energy signatures. Ships were powering up throughout the system. Sir, Vexahol said urgently, I am detecting movement in the shipyards. Multiple vessels are launching. How many? I cannot get an accurate count. The number keeps growing. Zethkara realized with growing horror that his fleet was trapped. They were deep inside a hostile system, surrounded by an unknown number of enemy ships. Ships built by a species that had spent 500,000 years preparing for this moment. All ships, battle stations, he ordered, prepare for immediate withdrawal. But as his fleet turned to leave, they found their path blocked. More ships had appeared, seeming to materialize out of empty space. They were surrounded completely. On every communication channel, the same message began broadcasting. It was Elena Vasquez again, but this time her image was being sent to every ship in the Hegemony fleet. 500,000 years ago, you came to our world uninvited. You decided we were a threat to your order. You were right to be afraid. We have been waiting for you to come back. We have been preparing. And now, finally, you are here. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkara and his crew in silence. Around them, hundreds of human warships waited like predators circling wounded prey. The commander realized with crystal clarity that his investigation fleet had just become the first casualties of a war that had been brewing for 500,000 years, in the depths of space. Humanity's war fleet powered up their weapons and prepared to remind the galaxy what happened when you tried to destroy the human race. Director Elena Vasquez walked through the Hall of Memory with slow, careful steps. Her enhanced eyes read every name on the endless walls as she passed. 8,473,612,847 names. She knew the exact count because she had memorized it years ago. Just like every other human alive, the hall stretched for kilometers beneath the surface of Earth. Each wall was covered with the names of those who died during the Great Cleansing. But it was more than just names. Behind each name was a complete record, a face, a life story, dreams that were never fulfilled, children who were never born. Elena stopped in front of one section and placed her hand on the wall. The surface came alive with images and data. A woman named Sarah Chun appeared on the display. She had been 23 years old when the aliens came, a student studying to become a doctor. She died trying to help wounded people in a hospital that was bombed from orbit. "We remember you, Sarah," Elena whispered. It was a daily ritual for her. She spoke to the dead every morning before beginning her work. "We remember all of you." Elena's own appearance showed the changes that 500,000 years had brought to humanity. Her body was taller and stronger than the humans of old Earth. Her brain had been enhanced with computer interfaces that let her think faster and remember more. Her lifespan had been extended to over 1,000 years. But despite all the changes, she was still recognizably human. The modifications had been necessary. After the Great Cleansing, the few thousand humans who survived had faced a terrible choice. They could remain as they were and slowly die out, or they could change themselves to become something new, something that could survive and eventually fight back. They chose to evolve. Elena left the Hall of Memory and took a transport to the command center. The building rose high above the reconstructed city of Geneva. Through the windows, she could see the results of 500,000 years of careful planning. Earth was more beautiful now than it had ever been before the attack. Clean cities powered by fusion energy, restored forests and oceans, a population of exactly 1 billion humans, each one trained from birth for a single purpose. She entered the main control room where dozens of technicians monitored screens showing data from across the solar system. Every human ship, every mining operation, every construction project was tracked and coordinated from this room. The efficiency was perfect because it had to be. They could not afford to waste anything in their preparation for this day. "Report," Elena said as she took her place at the central command station. "The hegemony fleet is holding position at the edge of the outer system," said Colonel Marcus Webb, her military advisor. Like Elena, he was enhanced far beyond baseline human capabilities. "They appear confused by our response. Their communications show they are trying to understand what they are facing." Elena nodded. The aliens had expected to find a dead system or perhaps some primitive survivors. Instead, they found a civilization that had grown beyond their wildest imagination. It was exactly what humanity had planned for. "What about our fleet deployment?" she asked. "All ships are in position," replied Admiral Torres from the tactical station. "We have them completely surrounded. The Admiral Ching battle group is holding behind Jupiter. The Admiral Patel group is positioned near Saturn. Local defense forces are maintaining perimeter coverage." Elena smiled slightly at the names. Every human ship was named after someone who died in the Great Cleansing. Admiral Sarah Chun would have been proud to know that the most powerful warship humanity had ever built carried her name. "Director," called out the communications officer, "we are receiving multiple transmission attempts from the alien fleet. They are trying to establish formal diplomatic contact." "Ignore them for now," Elena said. "Let them think about their situation for a while longer." She turned to the large display that showed a tactical view of the entire solar system. Red dots marked the positions of the hegemony ships. Blue dots showed human vessels. The aliens were outnumbered 50-1, but numbers were not the real advantage. The real advantage was knowledge. Humanity had spent centuries studying the wreckage left behind after the Great Cleansing. They had reverse-engineered every piece of alien technology they could find. They had learned how the enemy ships worked, how their weapons functioned, how their shields operated. Then they had built countermeasures for everything. "Director," said Dr. Sarah Kim from the science station, "our sensor analysis of the alien ships confirms they are using the same basic technology as 500,000 years ago. Some improvements, but nothing revolutionary. Their weapons and defenses are well within our projected parameters." Elena was not surprised. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for millions of years through fear and overwhelming force. When you were winning, there was no reason to innovate. Humanity, on the other hand, had been forced to innovate or die. What about their crew? Elena asked. Biological scans show standard hegemony species composition, Dr. Kim replied. Veltar command crew with support from several client races. Estimated total personnel across all ships is about 40,000 individuals. 40,000 lives. Elena felt the weight of that number. Despite everything the aliens had done, she took no pleasure in the thought of killing. But she also knew that mercy without strength was meaningless. The galaxy needed to learn that humanity could not be destroyed. Director, said Colonel Webb, the Terran Council is requesting a status update. They want to know when we will begin the next phase. Elena thought about the council. Representatives from every human settlement in the solar system. Mars colonies, asteroid mining stations, the floating cities of Venus. All of them had been built with one goal in mind. All of them had contributed to this moment. Tell the council that we proceed according to the plan, she said. Phase 1 is complete. The enemy has entered our space and is contained. Phase 2 will begin when I judge the moment is right. She walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, the alien fleet was realizing that they were trapped. Their commander was probably sending urgent messages back to his superiors, trying to explain how a dead system had come alive with hostile intent. Elena remembered her childhood lessons about the Great Cleansing, how the alien ships had appeared without warning, how they had demanded humanity's surrender and received defiance instead, how they had responded by burning the planet from orbit. But they had made a mistake. They had not finished the job. A few thousand humans had survived in deep shelters and hidden bunkers. They had emerged to find their world destroyed and their people dead. The smart thing would have been to grieve and rebuild slowly. Instead, they had chosen to remember and prepare. Every human child since then had been raised with the same lessons. Never forget what was lost. Never forgive what was done. Never again allow humanity to be caught defenseless. The door chimed, and Elena's assistant entered. Director, we have completed the scan of the alien fleet's computer systems. Our infiltration programs have been successful. We now have access to their navigation logs and communication records. Elena turned away from the window. Show me what we found. The main display filled with data streams and star charts. Elena read through the information quickly, her enhanced mind processing the details in seconds. What she saw made her feel cold inside. They are not here by accident, she said quietly. This is a scheduled inspection tour. They have been visiting old cleansing sites to verify they remain dead. Colonel Webb stepped closer. How many sites? According to their logs, they have visited 47 systems in the past year. All of them are marked as successfully cleansed. All of them are dead except for us. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. 47 dead worlds. 47 extinct species. Humanity was not the only victim of the Great Cleansing, but they were apparently the only survivors. Elena felt something shift inside her. What had started as a plan for revenge was becoming something larger, something more important. Change of plans, she announced. We are not just going to punish these aliens for what they did to us. We are going to make them answer for all the other worlds they destroyed, all the other species they eliminated. She turned to face her staff. Send the signal to all fleet commanders. Begin Phase 2. It is time to introduce ourselves properly to our guests. Elena walked back to the central command station and activated the communication system. For the first time in 500,000 years, humanity was about to speak to the galaxy with one voice. And the galaxy was going to listen. This is Director Elena Vasquez of the Terran Collective, she began, her words being broadcast to every ship in the alien fleet. You came to our world once before. You decided we were dangerous to your order. You were right. We are very dangerous indeed. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the TCS Vengeance, the flagship of humanity's war fleet. The massive ship stretched for nearly 10 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hull covered with weapons that could crack planets. Around her, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Commander Park from the tactical station. "All battle groups report ready. We have the alien fleet completely surrounded." Sarah nodded, her enhanced vision studying the tactical display. The hegemony ships hung in space like insects caught in a web. 12 heavy cruisers and 40 smaller vessels. Once upon a time, such a fleet would have been more than enough to destroy an entire star system. Today, they were hopelessly outmatched. "Signal all ships," Sarah ordered. "Decloak on my command." For the past hour, the human fleet had remained hidden using technology the aliens could not even imagine. Quantum phase generators bent light and energy around each ship, making them invisible to every known form of detection. It was just one of the many advantages humanity had developed during their long isolation. "Decloaking now," Sarah announced. Space. Around the hegemony fleet suddenly filled with human warships. Thousands of them, appearing as if materializing from nothing. Each ship was a masterwork of engineering, built with knowledge gained from 500,000 years of focused development. The smallest human destroyer was more powerful than the largest alien cruiser. On the main screen, Sarah could see the alien flagship. She imagined the panic that must be spreading through its crew as they realized how badly they had underestimated their situation. The thought gave her no pleasure. She had been named after the original Sarah Chun, the medical student, who died trying to save others. Admiral Sarah Chun fought not for joy, but for justice. "Admiral," said Commander Williams from the communications station, "we are receiving urgent transmissions from the alien fleet. They are requesting immediate contact with their commanding officer." "Put me through to their flagship," Sarah replied. A full visual. The main screen shifted to show the bridge of the alien vessel. A tall, blue-scaled creature with 4 eyes stared back at her. This was Commander Zethkara, according to the intelligence files. He looked terrified, which was probably the smartest reaction he could have. "I am Admiral Sarah Chun of the Terran Defense Force," she said, her voice carrying across space to every ship in the alien fleet. "You have entered human space without permission. You represent a government that committed genocide against my people. Explain why I should not destroy you immediately." The alien commander's scales shifted to a darker color. "Admiral, I am Commander Zethkara of the Hegemony 4th Fleet. We came here on a routine investigation. We had no knowledge that this system was inhabited. If we have violated your territory, we apologize and request permission to withdraw." Sarah almost smiled at the alien's attempt at diplomacy. 500,000 years too late for apologies. "Commander Zethkara," she said slowly, "your government's records show that this system was deliberately targeted for extermination. Your ships bombarded our planet until the surface burned. Your weapons killed 8 billion of my people. That was not a mistake or an accident. That was murder." The alien commander looked confused. "Admiral, that action was taken under the authority of the Great Cleansing Protocols. It was deemed necessary for galactic stability." "Necessary," Sarah repeated. "Yes, I suppose it seemed necessary to you. Just like this will seem necessary to us." She gestured to her tactical officer. On the display, weapons targeting systems locked onto every alien ship simultaneously. The demonstration was unmistakable. Humanity could destroy the entire hegemony fleet in seconds if they chose to, but Sarah had not spent 5 centuries learning strategy to waste this opportunity on simple revenge. "However," she continued, "we are not like you. We do not kill simply because we can. You will be given a choice? Commander, your ships will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be taken as prisoners. Your vessels will be studied. In return, you will live." Commander Zethkara's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "And if we refuse?" Sarah's expression did not change. "Then you will discover why your ancestors were right to fear us. Your choice, Commander. You have 60 seconds to decide." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Around the bridge, officers worked with focused determination. These people had been born and raised in a society dedicated to this single purpose. Every lesson they had learned, every skill they had developed, had been preparing them for war against the hegemony. "Admiral," said Commander Park, "the alien ships are powering down their weapons. They appear to be preparing to surrender." Sarah was not surprised. The commander was smart enough to recognize a hopeless situation when he saw one. The hegemony had ruled through fear for so long that they had forgotten how to face real opposition. "Good," Sarah replied. "Launch boarding parties. I want every piece of information in their computers. Navigation charts, communication logs, military databases, everything. And bring me their senior officers. We have questions to ask." The next few hours passed quickly as human Marines boarded the alien vessels. The technology gap was even more obvious up close. The aliens were using weapons and equipment that humanity had surpassed centuries ago. Their ships were impressive by galactic standards, but they were antiques compared to human engineering. Sarah reviewed the intelligence reports as they came in. The most important discovery was confirmation of what Elena Vasquez had already suspected. The hegemony had not stopped with Earth. Dozens of species had been eliminated over the millennia, their homeworlds left as dead monuments to alien arrogance. "Admiral," Commander Williams called out, "we have completed our interrogation of the alien officers. Director Vasquez is requesting a full briefing." Sarah nodded and activated the secure communication link to Earth. Elena's face appeared on the screen, her expression serious and focused. "Admiral, what have we learned?" "Director, the situation is worse than we thought," Sarah replied. "According to their records, the hegemony has been conducting systematic extermination campaigns for over 2 million years. They have a list of species classifications. Anything rated as potentially disruptive to galactic order is marked for elimination." Elena's eyes narrowed. "How many worlds?" "At least 300 confirmed dead systems, possibly more. They have been very thorough in their genocide." Sarah watched Elena process this information. The director's enhanced mind was working through the implications at superhuman speed. "Admiral, what is the current military status of the hegemony?" "Based on the intelligence we have gathered, they maintain approximately 50,000 warships spread across the galaxy. Most are concentrated in their core territories. They rely heavily on fear and overwhelming force rather than advanced technology." Elena was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, I am updating your mission parameters. This is no longer just about punishing them for what they did to us. We are going to liberate every world they have oppressed. We are going to end their reign of terror." Permanently, Sarah felt a surge of pride and determination. This was what humanity had become during their long isolation. Not just survivors, but liberators. Not just warriors, but protectors of the innocent. "Understood, Director. What are your orders?" "Hold position and continue extracting intelligence from the prisoners. I am dispatching additional battle groups to rendezvous with your fleet. We are going to send a message to the galaxy that will be heard on every world." Elena paused, her expression growing harder. "Admiral, prepare a communication package for transmission to the Hegemony High Council. Include complete tactical recordings of our fleet capabilities. Include the surrender of their investigation force. And include this message." Sarah activated the recording system as Elena continued. "To the Hegemony High Council. You have ruled the galaxy through fear and murder for too long. You destroyed our world and killed our people. You have done the same to hundreds of other species. Today that ends. We are coming for you. We are coming for all of you. And we will not stop until every world you have oppressed is free." The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts. Around her, the crew prepared for the next phase of humanity's return to the galaxy. In the distance, the captured alien ships waited under heavy guard. Commander Zethkara and his officers were about to become unwilling witnesses to humanity's true power. They would carry word back to their masters about what was coming. And, that word would spread fear through the hegemony faster than any weapon humanity possessed. The war fleet that time built was ready to remind the galaxy. What happened when you tried to destroy the human race? High Counselor Drexmar stood in the center of the Hegemony Council chamber on the capital world of Kashyyyk Prime. Around him, representatives from 23 species argued with desperate voices. The massive hall that had once echoed with confident declarations of power now filled with the sound of fear. "Order!" Drexmar shouted, his voice enhanced by the chamber's systems. "We must have order." The arguing stopped, but the fear remained. On the central display, tactical reports showed the same impossible story. Human ships were appearing throughout hegemony space. Communication networks were being destroyed. Supply lines were cut. And somehow they were doing it all without being detected until it was too late. "Report," Drexmar commanded, pointing. To Admiral Kexthil of the Third Fleet, the veteran officer looked older than his 800 years. "High Counselor, we have lost contact with 47 sectors in the past 10 days. The humans are targeting our infrastructure with surgical precision. They know exactly where to strike to cause maximum disruption." Counselor Yithra of the Hegemony Intelligence Service stepped forward. Her spider-like form clicked nervously as she spoke. "High Counselor, our analysis suggests the humans have been planning this campaign for centuries. They know our weaknesses better than we know them ourselves." Drexmar felt his confidence cracking. The hegemony had ruled for 2 million years through careful planning and overwhelming force. They had eliminated every potential threat before it could grow dangerous, except for one. "How many ships do they have?" he asked. Admiral Kexthil consulted his datapad. "Unknown, High Counselor. Our estimates range from 10,000 to over 100,000 vessels. They appear and disappear using some form of cloaking technology we cannot detect. And their capabilities? Far beyond anything in our databases. Their weapons cut through our shields like they do not exist. Their armor absorbs our fire without damage, and their speed—" The Admiral paused. "High Counselor, they can cross entire sectors in days. It should be impossible." Drexmar walked to the great window that looked out over the capital city. Millions of beings lived and worked in the towers below, all believing they were safe, under hegemony protection. For 2 million years, that protection had been absolute. Today, it was an illusion. "What do they want?" he asked quietly. The question hung in the air for a long moment before Counselor Yithro answered. "High Counselor, we intercepted one of their transmissions yesterday. They are broadcasting it to every world in the galaxy. Show me." The central display filled with the image of a human female. She looked similar to the archives of the extinct species, but there were differences. Her eyes held intelligence that seemed artificial. Her presence radiated authority that was unmistakably real. "I am Director Elena Vesquez of the Terran Collective," the human said. 500,000 years ago, your government decided that my people were too dangerous to exist. You sent your fleets to our world. You burned our cities and killed our children. You left us for dead." Drexmar watched with growing horror as the human continued. "But we did not die. We survived. We rebuilt. We prepared. And now we have returned to collect what you owe us. Not just for our own dead, but for all the species you have murdered in the name of your galactic order." The image shifted to show recordings of human ships destroying hegemony installations. The attacks were precise, devastating, and unstoppable. "To every world that suffers under hegemony rule, we say this: your liberation is coming. To every species that remembers their fallen, we say this: justice is coming. To the Hegemony Council that ordered our deaths, we say this: we are coming for you." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Admiral Kexthil was the first to speak. "High Counselor, this message has been received on every inhabited world in the galaxy. Our monitoring stations report that some client species are already showing signs of unrest." Drexmar was not surprised. The hegemony ruled through fear, but fear only worked when you were the strongest force in the galaxy. If that perception changed, their entire civilization would collapse. "What about our defensive capabilities?" he asked a High Counselor, said General Vorthak of the Hegemony Army, we are mobilizing all available forces. But our ships are scattered across thousands of systems. The humans are using hit-and-run tactics that prevent us from bringing our full strength to bear. Then bring them back, Drexmar ordered. Recall every ship to the core systems. We will make our stand here. Counselor Yithra clicked her mandibles nervously. High Counselor, if we withdraw our forces, the outer territories will be defenseless. Many client species may see this as an opportunity to rebel. Better to lose some territories than to lose everything, Drexmar replied, but even as he spoke, he knew it might already be too late. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. The humans were not just attacking military targets. They were making contact with oppressed species, offering them weapons and support. Ancient grudges were awakening. Old enemies were remembering their hatred. High Counselor, Admiral Kexel said urgently, we are receiving reports of uprisings on Vexahal Prime, Zethkon II, and the Outer Rim colonies. Local populations are attacking our garrisons. The situation was spiraling out of control faster than Drexmar had thought possible. In just 10 days, 500,000 years of careful dominance was crumbling. Sir, called out a communications officer, we are receiving a priority transmission from the humans. They are requesting direct contact with the High Council. Drexmar straightened his robes and walked back to the center of the chamber. Put them through. The display filled with the image of the human director again. This time she was standing in what appeared to be a command center. Behind her, screens showed tactical displays of battles across the galaxy. High Counselor Drexmar, Elena Vasquez said, her voice calm and controlled. We meet at last. Director. Vasquez, Drexmar replied, trying to project strength he no longer felt. You are making a grave mistake. The hegemony maintains order in the galaxy. Without us, there will be chaos. The human tilted her head slightly. Chaos? Is that what you call freedom? You have ruled through murder and fear for 2 million years. You have eliminated hundreds of species for the crime of thinking differently than you. That is not order. That is tyranny. We did what was necessary to prevent Galactic War, Drexmar argued. You did what was convenient to maintain your power. Elena replied, but that power was built on lies, built on the graves of billions of innocent beings. Today we are settling that debt. Drexmar felt desperation creeping into his voice. What do you want? What will it take to end this? Elena's expression did not change. We want justice. We want you to answer for every species you have destroyed. We want you to release every world you have conquered. We want you to surrender unconditionally. Impossible, Drexmar said immediately. The hegemony will never surrender. Then you will fall, Elena replied simply. One world at a time, one fleet at a time, one system at a time. We have waited 500,000 years for this moment. We can wait as long as it takes. The transmission ended. Leaving the council chamber in silence once again, Drexmar looked around at his fellow counselors. These beings had ruled the galaxy with absolute authority for longer than most species had existed. Now they looked like frightened children facing a nightmare they could not understand. Options? He asked quietly. General Vorthak stepped forward. High Counselor, we could attempt a negotiated settlement. Perhaps offer to release some of the client species in exchange for ... No, Drexmar said firmly. The hegemony does not negotiate with terrorists. High Counselor, Counselor Yithra said carefully, these are not terrorists. These are the survivors of a species we tried to exterminate. They have every legal and moral right to seek justice. Drexmar turned to stare at her. Are you suggesting we surrender? I am suggesting we consider our options carefully. The humans have demonstrated capabilities far beyond our own. They have the support of countless oppressed populations. And they have the moral authority that comes from being victims of our own policies. Admiral Kexfel consulted his datapad again. High Counselor, I am receiving reports of major battles in the Kethver system, the Yithmal cluster, and the Inner Rim territories. Our forces are being overwhelmed everywhere. Drexmar. walked back to the window and looked out at the city below. For the first time in his long life, he wondered if the hegemony would survive the next year. The humans had played a game that lasted 500,000 years, and now they were collecting their winnings. "Recall all fleets to the core systems," he ordered finally. "Prepare our defenses. If the humans want war, we will give them war." But even as he spoke the words, Drexmar knew that the hegemony had already lost. They just had not admitted it yet. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the observation deck of the TCS Vengeance as the last hegemony fortress fell. The massive space station had once been the pride of their military, a symbol of their unbreakable power. Now it drifted in space, its weapons silent and its shields down. The war was over. Around her flagship, hundreds of ships from dozens of species floated in formation. These were not all human vessels. Many belonged to species that had been thought extinct, brought back from the edge of destruction by humanity's intervention. The Kethver had contributed their fast attack ships. The Yithmal had provided their powerful shields. Even some former hegemony client species had joined the Liberation Fleet. "Admiral," said Commander Park from behind her. "High Counselor Drexmar is requesting permission to surrender formally." Sarah turned away from the window. The war had lasted only 6 months, but it felt like a lifetime. Every battle had been won, every objective achieved. The mighty hegemony had crumbled faster than anyone had expected once their subjects realized that freedom was possible. "Very well," she said. "Bring him aboard." But he comes alone and unarmed. 20 minutes later, High Counselor Drexmar stood in the conference room of the human flagship. The alien leader looked old and defeated. His once proud bearing had been replaced by the slumped shoulders of someone who had lost everything he believed in. "Admiral Chun," he said quietly, "I am authorized by what remains of the Hegemony Council to offer our complete and unconditional surrender." Sarah studied the alien who had once ruled a quarter of the galaxy. She felt no satisfaction in his defeat. Only sadness for all the lives that had been lost over the millennia. "High Counselor," she replied, "your surrender is accepted. You and your remaining forces will stand down immediately. Your ships will be impounded. Your governing officials will be taken into custody pending trial for crimes against sentient species." Drexmar nodded slowly. "What will happen to our people? To the worlds that supported the hegemony?" "That will be decided by the new galactic government," Sarah said. "Every species will have a voice in determining their own future, even yours." The alien looked surprised. "You would give us representation? After everything we have done?" Sarah walked to the window and gestured at the mixed fleet outside. "High Counselor, we did not fight this war to become the new tyrants. We fought to ensure that no one could ever again decide which species deserved to live and which deserved to die." 3 days later, Elena Vasquez stood in the same hall of memory where the story had begun, but now the hall served a different purpose. Representatives from over 300 species had gathered on Earth to witness the signing of the new Galactic Accord. The document was simple in its language, but revolutionary in its meaning. Every species, no matter how small or how different, would have the right to govern themselves. No government could declare another species extinct simply because they were inconvenient. Wars of extermination were declared crimes against all sentient life. Elena watched as representative after representative signed the accord. Many of these species had been thought dead for thousands of years. Others had lived in hiding, afraid to reveal themselves to the galaxy. Now they stood together as equals. "Director," said Colonel Webb, approaching her with a datapad, "we have received word from the outer territories. The last hegemony holdouts have surrendered. The war is officially over." Elena nodded, but she felt no urge to celebrate. Too many had died on both sides for this moment to bring joy. Instead, she felt relief. The long task of preparation was over. The longer task of building something better could begin. "Director Vasquez," called out Ambassador Kethtel of the newly restored Kethver Republic, "my people wish to express their gratitude. Without humanity's intervention, we would have remained extinct. Ambassador, Elena replied, we did not. Save your people out of kindness. We saved them because it was right. Because every species deserves the chance to choose their own path. The ceremony continued for hours as species after species pledged to uphold the principles of the new accord. But Elena's mind was already turning to the challenges ahead. It was easy to tear down a tyrannical government. It was much harder to build something better in its place. The hegemony had maintained order through fear and force for 2 million years. The new galactic government would have to find a different way. They would have to prove that cooperation was stronger than domination, that diversity was more valuable than uniformity. Later that evening, Elena stood once again before the memorial wall in the Hall of Memory. But now new names had been added. The names of humans who had died in the Liberation War. The names of aliens who had fought and fallen for freedom. The names of those who had given everything to ensure that the Great Cleansing could never happen again. We did it, she whispered. To the memorial, we kept our promise, we never forgot. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Admiral Chen approached and stood beside her at the wall. Director, Sarah said quietly, the fleet is requesting new orders. What should we do now that the war is over? Elena considered the question carefully. Humanity had built the most powerful military force in galactic history. They could rule the galaxy easily if they chose to. The temptation was there, whispered by voices that said humanity deserved to be in charge after everything they had suffered, but that was exactly the kind of thinking that had created the hegemony in the first place. Admiral, Elena said finally, we will do what we always planned to do. We will go home. Sarah looked surprised. Home? Director, we have responsibilities now. The galaxy needs leadership. The galaxy needs to learn to lead itself, Elena replied. We fought this war to ensure freedom, not to become the new masters. Our job is done. Over the following months, humanity began the process of withdrawing from galactic politics. They helped establish the new government, provided technology and resources to rebuilding worlds, and offered protection to those who needed it. But they did not seek to rule. The human fleet returned to the Sol system, where it took up defensive positions around Earth. The message was clear. Humanity would defend itself and its allies, but it would not conquer others, the rest of the galaxy. Watch this withdrawal with amazement. Never before had a species with such overwhelming power chosen to limit itself voluntarily. It was a lesson that would be remembered for millions of years to come. On Earth, Elena Vasquez stood in her office, overlooking the restored city of Geneva. Through the window she could see children playing in the parks. Human children, but also visitors from dozens of other worlds. Earth had become a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. Director, her assistant announced, the Galactic Assembly, is requesting that humanity accept a permanent seat on the Security Council. Elena smiled. Tell them we are honored by the offer, but we must decline. The galaxy belongs to all of us, not just to the strongest. Years passed and the new galactic order took shape. Species that had been enemies for millennia learned to cooperate. Trade replaced conquest. Exploration replaced extermination. The galaxy began to heal from 2 million years of oppression. Elena, now well into her second century of life, often visited the Hall of Memory. The hall had grown larger over the years, adding sections for the victims of other genocides and the heroes who had fought to end them. But the original section, dedicated to the 8 billion who died in the Great Cleansing, remained at the center. We kept faith with you, she would say to the names on the wall. We remembered, we never forgot. And we made sure that no one else will have to suffer as you did. The children of Earth learned new lessons now. They learned about the war their ancestors had fought and won. But more importantly, they learned about the peace their ancestors had chosen to build. They learned that true strength came not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to create. And in the depths of space, the human fleet maintained its silent vigil, ready to defend freedom wherever it was threatened, but never again seeking to impose their will on others. They had learned the hardest lesson of all, that the greatest victory was knowing when to stop fighting. The war fleet had never forgotten what was done to humanity. But they had also never forgotten who humanity was meant to be. And that made all the difference in the galaxy.